Welcome to Smash Fiction, the podcast where, honestly, all I think about is the next time I get to play Dante. Yes to all the things that popped up in your head. Anyways, this week, Doctor Strange versus Voldemort. After years of battle in the wizarding world, the fight between Harry Potter and Voldemort has claimed countless lives, and at this point is sure to claim countless more. Harry and his merry band of wizards have tried everything, but seem to still be losing ground to Voldemort and his Death Eaters. One night, after Harry and a few others had left the safety of their secret camp, Neville Longbottom was secretly setting up a tent to have a nice little chat with his best buddy, the Sorting Hat, of course. Having secretly filched it from the headmaster's office, Neville pulled it out, needing some guidance and encouragement to continue being that great role model for all the other wizards below him fighting the brave fight.
Goddamn right.
What an awful place. Dark, but full of courage, said the Sorting Hat. That's a relief, said Neville. Sorting Hat, we need help. We're losing to Voldemort and we don't know what to do. Yes. Are you sure? Yeah, I'm pretty sure. But if you figure it out, it would lead you to greatness. I don't care, Sorting Hat. Can you help? Help, eh? Yeah, help! Yes. Ha! I know just what to do for you. And with that, the Sorting Hat fell to its side. Poor Neville sighed exasperately and grabbed the Sorting Hat to shake it, hoping it would wake up and finish whatever help it was going to give. As he picked it up, Neville noticed something different under its brim. A brightly colored piece of red fabric. Oh geez, Sorting Hat. I know it's cold, but I wasn't asking for help in the form of a blanket! I'm so sorry.
I'm like tugging my face off.
Neville started to pull on the fabric and suddenly noticed that it was a lot heavier than your average blanket. Interested, he kept pulling until suddenly a very much not a blanket man popped out.
Why, it's Dr. Not a Blanket Man.
Coughing, the handsome, mustachioed man politely asked, "What have I been called upon to do, young man? Do you require magic?" After picking up his jaw from the floor, Neville began to explain the situation to none other than Doctor Strange. That there is this, really super evil wizard named Voldemort who no one really knows how to kill with super evil followers called Death Eaters. Always keen for a challenge, Doctor Strange decides to take up the plight of the young wizards, setting out to figure out how to destroy Voldemort and actually execute whatever way he finds out how to. I totally know because I am the Sorting Hat judge, and what I do is sort things, and I'm going to sort these arguments, and my name is Liz Logan, and we're keeping this because this is literally the best take, so thank you, audience.
I'll be the judge of that.
So many takes.
And we're rolling with it. Representing Doctor Strange are Dan Mulcairn.
By the decrepit dentures of Dumbledore.
And Kit Mulcairn.
By the giant gonads of Godzilla.
Naturally.
Oh yeah, and the Doom 100 times, is it like... Get the fuck out of here.
Oh, that was good. Representing Voldemort are Megan Bob.
When I look in the mirror of Erised, I see myself finally winning one of these matches.
And Miles Schneiderman.
There is no good and evil. There is only bullshit. And those too weak to spout it.
As a note, we are using Voldemort from Book 7, Before the Deathly Hallows, and we are only using Doctor Strange from the comic books. Not some crazy-ass old movie.
Or new movie.
Or some yet-to-be-released at the time of recording new movie.
What Miles said. Thank you.
Also, all but the diary still exist, Horcrux-wise.
Oh yeah, we should talk.
Because Dumbledore had to skedaddle and take care of some tome.
Yeah, Dumbledore had to go fight Gandalf for the Tome of Eternal Darkness, and then pitch a horrible, pensive spin-off idea to Shark Tank. So he ain't around right now, but the diary's been destroyed.
To determine which fantastical wizard goes first, our teams had to see how fast they could complete the latest brain surgery technique. Haha, sorry, Dr. Strange. Therefore, Mr. Voldemort has the floor. Cast on.
Let's get the basics out of the way. Lord Voldemort is basically the most powerful dark wizard of all time. He started performing magic at an extremely young age, most notably beginning to exercise the power he holds over the minds of others. He began as one of Hogwarts' most exceptional students, and eventually became something inhuman and merciless. After regaining his physical form at the end of the 4th Harry Potter book, we see him engage in astounding feats of magic. He can move huge objects with a wave of his hand, fly without the assistance of a broom, and transform into a huge fiery snake, because Slytherin. He possesses mastery of all the magical disciplines of the Harry Potter universe, is stated as being one of the greatest legilimens the world has ever seen, and can effortlessly perform all 3 of the unforgivable curses. He wields and crafts spells and potions of his own invention to devastating effect. If the Potterverse has a Sorcerer Supreme, it's Voldemort. But this is Doctor Strange we're talking about, and he ain't exactly a magical slouch himself. As a magician, he's almost as good as, like, high school Diablo. I mean, he almost got killed once when someone broke into his house and shot him, and using magic too much makes him throw up, but still, if this was simply a duel between the two of them, Strange would at least have a chance. What sets Voldemort above him, though, is Voldemort's ruthless cunning and deviousness. We see that he is a master of manipulation, such as the way he effortlessly cons Harry into finding the prophecy for him in the Hall of Mysteries. We see that he can possess people, and that he can kill someone, reanimate their body, and hide his snake inside them. And speaking of Nagini, she's one of Voldemort's 6 Horcruxes, the destruction of which are crucial to his defeat, and all of which are carefully guarded, cleverly placed, or both. It takes Albus Dumbledore years to discover that Voldemort has created a Horcrux at all, let alone 6 of them, and finding them requires a unique knowledge of the man once known as Tom Riddle. Take the locket, for example. Finding the locket requires 1 to A. Know the place where Riddle tortured 2 of his fellow orphans as a child. B. Make your way through the complex series of defenses surrounding the cave where it lies. C. Drink a potion that will probably kill you. D. Escape the zombie army that arises as soon as you take the locket. E. Find out it's not the actual locket and have to decipher a cryptic note from Regulus Black. F. Somehow managed to discover that the real locket was taken from Grimmauld Place by Mundungus Fletcher, and taken from him in turn by Dolores Umbridge, and G. Infiltrate the Ministry of Magic to get it from her. And then you have to destroy the damn thing while it eats away at your mind. That's 1 Horcrux. To find the others, you have to break into the Fortress Bank of Gringotts, get into the Room of Requirement at Hogwarts, and locate the abandoned home of Riddle's mother. And you have to do all of this while navigating a wizarding world that has been completely taken over by Voldemort's Death Eaters from the Minister on down. Sure, Harry Potter was eventually able to do it, but the people who provided him with crucial assistance include Ron, Hermione, Dumbledore, Neville, Kreacher, Griphook, Luna, Crabbe, Narcissa Malfoy, Dobby, and a big fuck-off dragon, #DanList. And that's not counting everyone who just randomly saved his life along the way. And his lessons with Dumbledore and his own past experiences with Voldemort gave him an intimate understanding of how Voldemort's mind works and where he should be looking for the Horcruxes. Strange is alone in an unfamiliar world, and even if he wasn't, he would be less qualified to deal with the Dark Lord than Harry. Take a moment to consider Stephen Strange. As a doctor, he was a man at the height of his profession, a renowned and accomplished surgeon. He was so successful, in fact, that he became greedy and arrogant, only taking on medical cases that made him the most profit. All that changed when he lost the full use of his hands in a car accident, and he was set down the path that led him to becoming the Sorcerer Supreme. Now he is considered one of the wisest and most powerful magic users in the Marvel Universe. A prodigy in his prime, brought low by personal loss, who has since emerged as the great leader of a magical community. Does this remind you of anyone from the Harry Potter books? Doctor Strange is a strangely similar character to Albus Dumbledore. But before the words "the only one he ever feared" come out of anyone's mouth, I would like to remind you that Albus Dumbledore never defeated Lord Voldemort. Quite the opposite. Despite the fact that Dumbledore's death was something he worked into his overall plan, it was set in motion by a curse conjured up by Voldemort, a trap that Dumbledore, in a moment of weakness, fell right into. And while Dumbledore and Strange are similar characters, that similarity ends when it comes to learning your damn lessons. Dumbledore's actions when he was young led to the death of his sister, and he responded by shaping himself into a person who would never again be tempted by power. Strange experienced a similar awakening and ended up becoming more powerful than ever, and yet he still engages in power-hungry acts, from trying to rule the world with the Defenders, to his involvement with the Illuminati, to helping Doom become a god during the Secret Wars. Thank you. At one point, he made a deal to sell his soul to attain the powers of a god himself, saying, and I'm quoting from the very first thing on his Marvel wiki page, I need more power. I want to be able to move worlds and shake them to their foundations. I want enough power in my hands to tear planets from the heavens and place them in a new sky. It's actually from New Avengers Volume 3, number 14, but it's also at the very beginning of his wiki page. This guy is a megalomaniac in waiting. Dumbledore was ultimately and fatally tempted by the desire to bring his sister back to life. Strange has shown the same weakness, has in fact actually resurrected his dead brother as a goddamn vampire, and doesn't have Dumbledore's strength of character to hold him back. Like so many before him, he will be tempted, if not by the dark arts, then by the power of Voldemort's Horcruxes, which, even when they're not laying deadly curses on you, contain sentient pieces of Voldemort's soul that fuck with your head and lead you into darkness. Voldemort will be Doctor Strange's undoing, not necessarily by casting one last Avada Kedavra, but by allowing Strange to undo himself.
I'll take it from here. Magicians are lame as fuck. I realize this is semantics, but oh dear God, is there anything lamer than someone telling you that they're a magician? I don't even know that a sorcerer is much better. We've all seen The Sorcerer's Apprentice. All hail his cageness. And that guy was basically a lunatic dumpster on legs. Look, being a wizard is dope. Being a witch is like gold star stuff. I want you to think back for a moment to when you first saw Hagrid break down the door to the Dursleys' escape cottage with that cake. Hagrid sits down and is perplexed by Harry's cluelessness about Hogwarts. Baby Daniel Radcliffe looks softly at Hagrid with those non-canonical blue eyes. And Hagrid says, "You're a magician, Harry." The movie would have been over. Harry would say, "No thanks, I'll stay in the cupboard under the stairs for the rest of my life." Okay, that aside, Voldemort is reasonably powerful, which is its own impressive thing. He's able to fight 3 wizards at once at the end of Deathly Hallows and hold his own. Which 3 wizards? Minerva McGonagall, Horace Slughorn, experienced magic users, and Kingsley Shacklebolt, a trained Auror. Why do you think he can take on 3 impressive magic users and they can only handle 1/3 of a Voldemort? Not because he's been taking magical steroids, but because he can and will do whatever he likes. He's a baddie. There are no rules for him and he can do anything because he doesn't care how he wins. Stephen Strange has to operate within the rules of decency, and while he'll flirt with dark magic, he's not a big fan of it. Voldemort will use any damn thing he likes to get his way, including murdering a unicorn and drinking its blood. An act so heinous that it's synonymous with a kind of eternal damnation that's beyond religious. Now, maybe that's just propaganda put out by the Wizarding World Wildlife Fund trying to prevent unicorn poaching. But I think most of us probably don't play fast and loose with things like the destruction of one's soul. But Voldemort's ready to lick up that delicious silver goo if it buys him some more time. Voldemort has been in this game a long time. So long that he's had time to perfect it, die from the power of love, crawl back from death, and rise again. Doctor Strange trained for 7 years, so he's had as much schooling as your fresh Hogwarts grad. Now, there's some on-the-job training, definitely, but nothing like Voldemort, who has been doing magic since he was a tiny child, using it to scarily punish people who make him unhappy, and then in his tender teenage years was already planning to live beyond death by tearing apart his soul and storing it in various junk drawers as Horcruxes. Not to be confused with Horcruxes, which are the items which must be destroyed in order to banish Ted Cruz. From such auspicious beginnings, there's the further rise to power and the successful cult formation, and then the even more impressive rising from the dead with the help of followers who are so Stockholm syndromed that they'll cut off their own appendages to give him power. He wouldn't even have been able to rise to power again if it wasn't for the loyalty of the Death Eaters, who are obviously all terrified of him, and yet they still help him. There are 27 known Death Eaters, in other words, 27 fully trained witches and wizards who are out of their gourd and would rather die than be on the wrong side of Voldemort. Followers who would rather hand over their own children for initiation than risk his wrath. Followers who would rather have him living on the back of their own fucking head than face his potential future wrath. I'm not talking here about his actual power or the danger he poses to people. I'm talking about the insane level of complicity that fear of him creates. Ask yourself, how pants-shitting terrified would I need to be of someone in order to let them live on the back of my head for a fucking year? His followers will do things that Strange could not imagine and could not possibly defend against, because there is no way to predict utter insanity unless you yourself are also certifiable. Think about this. Doctor Strange is special in the Marvel world because he's a magic user, of which there aren't a ton. In the world of Harry Potter, he's just a guy who'd make it onto a chocolate frog card, the wizarding answer to the Wheaties box. That special snowflake status isn't going to get him far when there's a fear campaign so successful that it's undermined the existing government and almost no one is willing to help out the resistance. Everyone's packing a wand, ready to imperious first and ask questions later. Strange is absurdly powerful, but I question if that's sufficient to navigate an entire population of other magic users who are terrorized into not making waves and policed by rabid cult followers, werewolves, and soul-sucking monsters. Plenty of people may not be in favor of Voldemort, but people who weren't in favor of Voldemort made Harry's Horcrux finding experience a living hell. It's not like everyone's just been waiting for Strange to show up and save the day, or even Harry Potter. They've been desperately trying to keep family members from being killed and trying to function in an increasingly terrifying world. As Miles pointed out, Strange will definitely need some help to face this task, and the wizarding world will not bother itself assioing some fucks to give about this newcomer know-nothing. Another weakness is that Strange, despite all his spells and magical training, is only human physically. Hence, if not taking proper care or defenses, Strange can be overpowered by mere blows. Mere blows, you say? What about mere snake attacks? Nagini is sneaky as fuck and would love to get a bite of that sweet, sweet flesh. She can be disguised as a human, so easy access to Strange. I can already hear the rebuttals, but he'll know something's wrong. Will he? I would say 100%. Of all people that have ever and will ever live on this planet will not expect a human being to suddenly turn into a 300-pound constrictor that also improbably has venomous fangs.
Indeed, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, that's for Kit. I love you, Kit. I love you. I just do not think that it's possible to prepare for that eventuality, no matter what universe, plane, or dimension you come from. Yeah, she's a Horcrux, and he could potentially hurt her, but a surprise snake snuggle is going to limit his hand movement, which he really needs to make the magic. So, holding him still is pretty much all she needs to do. A quick Avada Kedavra from a nearby Death Eater, and it's all over but the swallowing hole.
That was such a cute end to that argument.
Yeah, just a little cuddle.
I know, just
little
some
snake
little,
squeeze.
little snuggles and then some big, big kisses.
Some big open mouth kisses.
No,
little snake
my
snuggling.
intestines want to say hi to you.
Aw. Next time I hold a
like
snake,
that.
I'm gonna be like, oh, let's just snuggle.
Well, that was a strange snake snuggle.
Very good. Indeed, how droll.
Dr. Strange, you have the floor.
All right. Doctor Strange has the hair of Mr. Fantastic, the facial hair of Iron Man, and the eyebrows of Professor Xavier. Now this, in and of itself, would...
Dude, Dan.
Yes.
Dan.
Yes.
Nobody has the eyebrows of Professor
Au
Xavier.
contraire, sir.
How dare you?
Have you read Doctor Strange's early comics? Because I think you may be pleasantly surprised. Now this, in and of itself, would give him a tremendous edge over the follically challenged Voldemort. But it's time for a list. See if you can guess the theme. Countless incredibly powerful wizards. The ruler of fear and nightmares itself. The hashtag godlike overlord of the dark dimension. 2 different versions of the devil. Thanos. Dracula. Doctor Doom. This is a very, very small list of examples of the countless enemies with which Doctor Strange has come into conflict and defeated. All of these examples are much, much more threatening than Voldemort and his army of emo sycophants. Voldemort threatens one corner of the United Kingdom. Doctor Strange is the Sorcerer Supreme, and he protects the universe itself.
Once he's learned that some snake Dracula has been terrorizing Britain, across the pond he'll teleport. Through the use of his own brilliance and magical artifacts, Strange investigates this Dark Lord that has everyone too afraid to give him a name. Name or not, Voldemort has firmly placed himself into the minds and old newspapers of Britain's wizarding world. It'll take what amounts to just a single comic book page of space for the Doctor to learn about what Voldemort has done thus far, who has worked for him in the past, and, most importantly, about the Chosen One. Once he learns that a Hogwarts student is somehow at the center of this whole Voldemort thing, Strange decides to speak to this Harry Potter. Perhaps he turns to the Orb of Agamotto, his all-purpose super crystal ball which can track down just about anyone, even if they're in another dimension. Finding one boy in England should be comparatively simple. If Strange needs to be a bit more precise, well, he knows that the boy went to Hogwarts, and furthermore that he stayed with one particularly horrid family in Surrey. Once Strange finds some memento of young Master Potter, it won't be long before Strange attunes his tracking magic to Potter, and does the whole come with me if you want to live routine.
Strange's mystical senses are extremely acute and always active. He's been able to detect evil spirits possessing the bodies of the innocent, he can sense magic being used, and he can identify the properties of a magical item just by examining it. With these senses, combined with his use of the all-seeing Eye of Agamotto contained in the amulet at his throat, Strange detects a strange dark energy in the scar on Harry's forehead, and realizes that it has a strange connection to Voldemort himself. Strange has never heard of Horcruxes before, but he's all about encountering new forms of magic and gaining deep knowledge about them. We see him do this numerous times throughout the many series he appears in. At present, he knows at least half a dozen different schools of magic, including at least one alien school of magic, so learning about the nature of Voldemort's various get-out-of-hell-free cards is laughably easy. In Voldemort's flavor of magic, there is no true way to bring someone back to life. One can only delay their own death by fracturing their soul and creating Horcruxes. That is the only way. Strange could easily figure this out on his own, and finding Harry's Horcrux will simply expedite Strange's inevitable discovery of Voldemort's safety net.
A powerful, completely muggle wizard that wants to help stop Voldemort? Sure, he's a Yankee, but now that Dumbledore has gone missing to find some Tome of Darkness Eternal or some such bollocks, Harry will be relieved to have more powerful help on his side and reveal what he knows about Voldy, the Death Eaters, Voldemort's original name, and, perhaps most importantly, that Harry can occasionally see the Dark Lord's thoughts. Strange has an idea. As we see in Tomb of Dracula number 44 and many other instances, Strange can project his astral form into a person's mind, gaining access to their memories while seeing and experiencing these memories in greater detail than even the person who originally saw and experienced them. He picks up on many details that Harry missed or forgot and has a much better idea of how and where Voldemort typically operates, as well as gaining a clear picture of the Death Eaters that follow the Dark Lord.
Finding the Horcruxes may be a tall order for a teenage wizard whose greatest foe to date has been puberty, but Strange has been around the block before, and this ain't his first time having to track down very dangerous and hard-to-find items of great power. He's managed to track down the ancient book of evil magic called the Darkhold. Plus, there was that time when he hunted down all 6 Infinity Gems, which were spread across the universe and one pocket dimension. Now, we've seen that Strange can key the Orb of Agamotto to find certain types of objects, creatures, or energy, such as in Doctor Strange Volume 1, when, during his war with Dracula, he keyed the orb to find vampires. Now that he knows about Horcruxes, and has Harry's Horcrux as a sample, the orb shows 7 other lights glowing across Great Britain, one of them being Voldemort himself. Strange has found the Horcruxes, or rather, Voldemort's soul fragments.
Strange is pretty positive that he can take on any amount of magical punishment that Voldemort and his homies can dish out, but he hasn't survived this long as Sorcerer Supreme by being an idiot, so before he goes hunting for the Horcruxes, he scouts ahead in his invisible and intangible astral form. His magical senses still function in his astral form, as does the Eye of Agamotto, so he can see all the magical traps that Voldemort has laid out on and around the Horcruxes, and can see the Death Eaters that Voldemort may have left waiting in ambush. In many cases, Strange doesn't even have to leave his astral form to dispel the traps, and once those are gone, Strange teleports himself into a strategically sound location and attacks with perfect knowledge of the Death Eaters and their positioning, turning the ambush around and flattening the Dark Wizards with his superior knowledge of magic. With such opposition out of the way, Strange starts turning Horcruxes to dust.
Of course, Voldemort isn't idle during this time. He sends Death Eaters after Strange in direct attacks and ambushes, even in attempts to trick or seduce the Master of the Mystic Arts. This also doesn't work. When the Death Eaters attack him, even in great numbers, Strange proves they're better. Voldemort fighting 3 other wizards at once is real impressive and all, but in New Avengers Volume Volume 2, number 34, Doctor Strange gets attacked by the entirety of 2 different Avengers teams, a real #Dan list of heroes. Captain America, Iron Man, Thor, Vision, Red Hulk, Hawkeye, Black Widow, Spider-Woman, Captain Marvel, Spider-Man, Daredevil, Iron Fist, Thing, and Mockingbird. Strange not only manages to hold his own against all of them, he actually takes out most of them before delivering an exorcism spell that frees them all from the mind control spell they'd been under. When the Death Eaters try and ambush him or trick him, well, they don't call it the all-seeing Eye of Agamotto for nothing. It's able to see through any lie, trick, or disguise, even magical ones, and Strange has, at this point, learned to look for the dark mark on their arm. Very convenient that Voldemort saw fit to brand all of his followers in a very obvious place on their bodies. So now, there's only 2 Horcruxes left. Voldemort's pet snake Nagini, and the scar on Harry Potter's head. Now in the books, the one on Harry was tough to get rid of. Voldemort had to throw the kill spell Avada Kedavra at Harry, which, by the way, seems to be the only way in which Voldemort ever attacks anyone. Very uncreative. Anyway, Harry survived, the Horcrux was destroyed, a very convoluted way of getting rid of that particular part of Voldemort's soul, but Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows didn't have Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange isn't just an infinitely stronger wizard than anyone in the Potterverse, he's also a surgeon. His hands may not be able to hold a scalpel anymore, but he still has his eye and is still quite good at finding tumors and infections and removing them without harming the patient. Using great magical power with pinpoint precision, Harry's Horcrux scar is removed and destroyed. And then there was one.
Nagini is almost always by Voldemort's side. Sweet, 2 for the price of 1. And if she isn't with him because Voldy decided to hide her, whatev. He'll just pull a Liam Neeson. He will find her and he will kill her. Now, if Voldemort hasn't realized just how outclassed he is by this point and retired to his favorite forest in Albania to live under the simple but satisfying life of a mushroom picker, well, then he's a fool. A dead fool. Strange has dusted foes far more formidable than Lord Voldy Thing.
Like the time he fought the Mericant Helgard, a Lovecraftian being which had incinerated every Sorcerer Supreme it had gone up against since the 1500s until Strange broke its streak by killing it. Or the time when he summoned a Cthulhu to straight up kill a not at all veiled version of the Justice League. Or in New Avengers, when Strange had his hands broken by the Hulk and was lying bedridden, when the Hood, an up-and-coming mystic supervillain, attacked Strange's home with about 30 other supervillains, filling Strange full of bullets. Strange just climbs to his feet and unleashes a spell that leaves all of them in a coma. Strange has the resourcefulness, the know-how, the toughness, and the skills to track down Voldemort. And when it comes down to the inevitable mystical arm wrestling match, the winner is clear. Mr. Voldemort? The doctor will pwn you now.
Oh, very good.
Oh, that was snappy.
I'm on the other side and I love that.
Great opening arguments. And now let's move to my favorite phase, the rebut Tolls phase.
You know that's not your fucking favorite, Liz.
It's her favorite to say.
It's not.
Yeah,
I
don't
actually
fucking
really
lie.
don't like butts. But anyways,
That's not what I meant.
Shit, I do.
enough of that. Voldemort went first, so they also go first in the rebuttal round.
I can see so many flaws in the scenario being laid out by these people who are advocating for he who must not sell any goddamn comics. Let's just go through this real quick. Point 1. He's gonna track down Harry Potter. Let's remember that this is book 7. Harry Potter and his friends are in hiding, magical hiding, and are going to be extremely difficult to track down. Even if he does come up with the information that you say he will, Harry is going to be, in a house that doesn't appear on any map, or wandering through a forest constantly shielded from magical or non-magical detection. It is not going to be that easy for Strange to track Harry Potter down.
I mean, that would be a problem if he had the some-seeing eye of Agamotto, or the most-seeing eye of Agamotto. He has the all-seeing eye of Agamotto, which sees through magical illusions, including efforts to conceal oneself from magical detection.
He still has to get close enough to actually use it.
I see a real big problem with your belief that Harry is gonna trust him. Like, just out of nowhere,
that's a good
I'm
point.
sure he can do impressive things, but plenty of people Harry's met can do impressive things. Like, Harry has closed so many people out of his life to do this thing, and
In
he
book
keeps
7,
saying,
Harry's a fucking paranoid.
he is, and he keeps telling people he loves deeply. I can't tell you about it. Dumbledore said I couldn't tell anybody about it. And he doesn't tell person after person after person who asks him. The only 2 people he ever really talks about it to until near the very end of the book are Ron and Hermione. I do not see the scenario in which Harry breaks that pattern for a fucking stranger out of the goddamn woods.
He won't tell Lupin, he won't tell the Weasleys, he won't tell the Minister of he won't tell anybody.
He won't tell
except for Ron
Molly
and Hermione.
Weasley. Molly Weasley, who guilts the shit out of him
Yeah.
and basically raised him. Guy with mustache and cloak is gonna get fucking no look in.
Let me tell you guys a story about a group of people
Okay.
who had every reason to be extremely paranoid. This group was the New Avengers. They were in hiding from Iron Man and his group, and they had recently discovered that there was a Skrull invasion happening when Elektra, whom they had killed, turned into a Skrull. Now, they had no reason to trust each other because each of them thought that everyone else in the group was a Skrull. So, Doctor Strange comes forward, and he casts a spell which allows everyone to see into each other's soul. It allows everyone to see what their true intentions are. Once he cast that, the Avengers knew that they could trust each other, and it's this spell that he can cast on Harry to allow Harry to know that he can trust Strange.
Do you think that he doesn't know the intentions of Remus Lupin? Is that the problem there of Molly Weasley? He doesn't know their intentions. He doesn't know that they intend to help him. He doesn't know that they love him. He doesn't know that they care.
Secret Dementors.
Intent is not the important thing here. It's the fact that he was expressly told to share this information with two people, and he holds to that throughout the entire course of the book.
If basically showing someone your soul isn't going to work, Doctor Strange is not the decent person you made him out to be. He will take from Harry what he needs. So Harry was probably the most direct route, but there is also the fact that he can research and find out about Death Eaters and set traps for Death Eaters. I mean, there's that whole thing where if you just say the word Voldemort, the Death Eaters know where you are and they come to investigate. And then he'll basically tear them apart and like look at all their memories. There's like at least 10 named Death Eaters that knew Voldemort back when he was Riddle. And that's what you do. You find the name Tom Riddle, you investigate Tom Riddle, you see all of his little obsessions.
Well, okay.
Yeah, so he can do it the long way, but I think Harry's going to be the faster, easier way. He's getting to it either way.
That is true, but none of the Death Eaters knew the true Tom Riddle, and Dumbledore is very clear about the fact that the true secrets of his past were kept a closely guarded secret, which Dumbledore only found out through careful investigation. However, on the subject of taking out Death Eaters, you're assuming he does all these things while constantly being hunted by not just 27 people with tattoos on their wrists, but by an entire corporate wizarding structure where you don't know who's been Imperious and who hasn't been. But beyond that, the Death Eaters are not the only people guarding Horcruxes. They are around, they are sneaky, Voldemort has control of them. He managed to control them as a cult organization throughout his entire time at school, so they can work in the dark, but the Horcruxes are also at Gringotts, at Hogwarts, and you cannot get to them just by blowing your way through these buildings. That's simply not how it's done. That's not how magic works in this world. You're going to have to come up with some other way of getting through Gringotts without hurting people, presumably. Trying to find the Room of Requirement, which hardly anybody even knows about.
Once again,
Yeah,
I may
that's gonna
direct
be a
you
real
towards
challenge.
the all-seeing eye of Agamotto, and the fact that Strange can detach his astral form from his body and scout through any barrier totally invisibly, and he can still use the Eye of Agamotto when he's in his astral form.
So he is capable of spending up to 24 hours on the astral plane before he has to go back to his physical body. And I might add, while he's doing that, guess what his physical body's doing?
Yeah, dude.
It's just fucking lying
As
there.
we see in Triumph and Torment, this is a guy who goes to bed with 12 different protective spells on him. Like,
Dude, I don't give a shit. He got shot by a burglar who robbed him.
with Hitler's gun,
With
which was
enchanted-
loaded with magic bullets.
So what?
Is Voldemort
There is
going to
magic-
use a gun?
No, he's
when
not.
does Voldemort
because
use a
All
gun?
he uses is
There is
Avada
magic being
Kedavra on
thrown
the
around
kid that
all
it
over the
didn't
place
work
here.
originally on. All he knows is how to Avada Kedavra, use a gun, Voldemort. Fuck.
That's
At
not
least
factually
when
correct.
you kill Harry the second
Fiery
time,
Snake.
don't trust your Death Eater
Yeah.
to tell you the truth. Go fucking punch Harry in the face and see if it's actually true. Why would you trust Narcissa, you fucking idiot?
I don't care that he has this all-seeing orb. He is going to think it is malfunctioning. I'm sure he's seen a lot of things. He has not seen an old lady turn into a giant fucking snake, and I simply, even if you dispute that, Dan, Kit, I simply do not believe you.
He
I
lives
think
in a
we're
world with
making that up.
mystique. I mean,
Also, you people don't know what you're fucking talking about. The Horcrux in Harry is not the scar. It is a
No,
piece of
it's
soul
in his soul.
welded to his soul. It is not a scar.
And I don't think he can do soul surgery.
All right, time for Doctor Strange. Go.
If you really do want to make the argument that it's not the scar, it doesn't really matter because it is a thing that is going to be removed. I mean, honestly, even if it comes down to Doctor Strange having to sacrifice Harry at the end, if he can't convince Harry to do that, that would be the best way. Harry's quite noble, but if it comes down to that, he fucking will.
Strange has sacrificed people before.
Yeah, he's like not the nicest of the heroes. He's no captain.
Hence my point that as soon as he hears about the Resurrection Stone, he's going for that shit and getting cursed to death.
All right, so I'm going to tell you another story at this point.
He knows he can see
So,
curses.
Okay. Yay,
there's
stories.
there's that moment I mentioned earlier where the Hood and a bunch of supervillains invade Doctor Strange's house, and he basically draws upon a ton of dark magic in order to knock them out. Now, he draws on this dark magic more than he is able to control, and he loses control of it. This is a devastating moment for him, and he decides to give up the mantle of the Sorcerer Supreme. A couple of years later, there's that whole thing with the Avengers I mentioned earlier, where he gets attacked by all of the Avengers who have been mind-controlled to attack him. He takes them out, channeling more dark power than he had channeled back in his house, and this time he can control it. And that is what allows him to regain his mantle as Sorcerer Supreme. Doctor Strange is a person who has his weaknesses and he has his vulnerabilities and his shortcomings, but when he realizes that, he focuses and he improves and he gets better. He can handle dark energy, I would guess, better than Voldemort can.
There is only one way to defeat Voldemort, and that is to truly understand the power and the magic inherent to love. And
much.
Doctor Strange does not understand that.
Okay.
That is
That's
not
a
a
way
piece of
to
his
beat
character.
Voldemort.
Yeah, that's a way. If you aren't
that
the
is the
Sorcerer
way.
Supreme and can't find Horcruxes using your crystal ball.
I mean,
Miles, you mentioned earlier about Strange's mistake in accidentally turning his brother into a vampire. That was basically a mistake of ignorance on his part. He had the text of the Vishanti, he looked into it, he found a part which sounded like a resurrection spell to him, so he tried it. It actually ended up being the vampiric verses, so that was a mistake of ignorance. He just didn't know.
I thought he was all-seeing.
Let me talk about Voldemort's 3 major screw-ups. The first time, he accidentally kills himself with his own spell because Harry Potter, his target, was protected by the magic of his mother's loving sacrifice.
yeah.
Now,
Voldemort done fucking set himself up for that because he allowed Lily to leave.
right. He and Dumbledore had talked about whether evil magic was stronger than love. Voldemort believed that evil magic was stronger and was definitely proven wrong. So the next time he tries to kill Harry in basically the same way.
The same way.
Despite knowing that Harry has his mother's protection and knowing what happened last time, what happens? Voldemort knocks out Harry and himself and really only manages to destroy his own damn Horcrux. So, his stubbornness clearly didn't let him learn from his mistake the first time. Then, he has the Elder Wand, and he's ready to kill Harry with it, but Harry reveals to him that Harry, is the actual rightful owner of the Elder Wand at that moment. Once again, Voldemort's own stubbornness and arrogance prevents him from listening to anything approaching reason, and this time, when his killing curse rebounds on him for the third time,
dude.
it sticks, and Voldemort puts the final nail in his own coffin, not out of ignorance, which is overcomable, but out of stubbornness.
Like, at least summon a sword and throw it at Harry. Stop using Avada Kedavra!
Look, Voldemort consistently thinks that he has the problem figured out. It's not due to stubbornness. He's not trying the same thing over and over again with the same result. He is constantly searching for the way to get around Harry's protection, and he always thinks that by the rules of magic he has found it. Now, Harry has the love magic thing going on, which manifests in different ways throughout the course of the series, and Voldemort thinks the power of the Elder Wand is passed on through murder when it's actually passed on through disarmament. That's not stubbornness. That is, again, ignorance. It's the same thing that Strange does. Strange is constantly screwing up out of his own ignorance, and he also does have to obey the rules of magic in whatever world he happens to find himself in. He is in the Harry Potter universe. He must obey the rules of that magic.
Is that true?
It's not true when Doctor Strange has traveled dimensions before.
Yeah, I actually went into this match assuming that Doctor Strange, because of his knowledge of so many different types of magics in all the dimensions and shit, that he's still using his brand of magic and the Harry Potter people are using their brand of magic, and it's not like there's some kind of magical law that's
I'm not-
different?
I'm not saying that he has to start using, like, the Harry Potter spell words and everything, but the magic of the Harry Potter verse still applies, and he cannot simply rewrite it.
Okay, we're moving on. Yes, that is something you hear in the distance. Rumble, rumble. Lightning round.
What?
Oh,
That was
no!
very abrupt.
The round that must not be named.
Uh...
Oh, that's very good, Miles.
After an intense fight full of fancy hand movements, Doctor Strange and Voldemort are suddenly frozen in both space and time. Unable to move, the clouds break above, spilling forth an intense, otherworldly light. Both characters look up in awe, seeing a figure descending through the clouds. While Doctor Strange and Voldemort were busy fighting each other, the actual strongest sorcerer in the universe initiated her plan to enthrall all inhabitants far and wide. In a smooth, endearing voice, the figure says, "And which one of you will be the Ken to my Barbie?" Doctor Strange and Voldemort are suddenly transported to a middle-class home while being shown pictures of how popular Barbie has become and stand in front of her. Barbie starts to explain. As you can see, my pop culture iconness has reached its ultimate level, and frankly, Ken doesn't really cut it anymore. But you two, one of you could do the trick and be nearly as awesome as me, but just nearly. I've already seen you fighting, and well, I don't really relate to all that, but what I do relate to is this. In front of both Doctor Strange and Voldemort appear crafts tables, replete with various items and a small unfinished figurine that loosely resembles a male body. Barbie explains, please create the best action figure version of yourselves and explain to me what features your doll's gonna have. Like, are they gonna be totally awesome? And then you both are gonna sit next to each other and fight through, your issues using those items and your awesome new dolls. Please tell me if there's any middle-class home features that you could think would give you an advantage in your fight. Tell me about where you would fight and how you would ultimately defeat your competitor in action figure form. Go Barbie!
Liz, we're sorry we never did Barbie versus Zoolander.
Hang on just a sec. I think I need to clean up my brain. It spilled out of my ear and onto the floor.
Doctor Strange will be going first. Design it.
So Doctor Strange has had a couple of really good wardrobes in his time. Everyone knows the sort of blue kimono looking thing with the big red cape and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, dude, he's had one good wardrobe in his time.
And he also has my personal favorite, which is the black and red outfit he wore in the mid-2000s up until a year or two ago. And so our Doctor Strange action figure is, of course, going to be a Transformer. And you can switch in between the two just by flipping the parts around. And the cool thing about Doctor Strange is he comes with a lot of different, in the terms of the Cheat Commandos, a lot of different playsets and toys. So you have his Cloak of Levitation, the Eye of Agamotto, the Wand of Watum, the Orb of Agamotto. He has the whole Sanctum Sanctorum playset, complete with Servant Wong and an evil thing that lives in the basement. It's fun for the whole family.
Racist playset.
I don't know, I'm just looking up some of these fucking crazy-ass Barbies that have existed in the past.
All right,
I'm like, let's do Slumber Party Strange.
He sleeps in the nude, so that's,
No! And it can come with, like, a little Ouija board, so you can play with his friends. And then it'll come with, like, an actual Cthulhu action figure that's, like, basically the size of your house.
Yeah, actual size Shumagorath. Yep.
Great.
So the battle between Doctor Strange and Voldemort is, of course, going to take place everywhere in the house, as any good battle with Doctor Strange does. He starts off in the physical world, but then he goes into the dark dimension and then into the astral realm and all over the place. But, of course, it will end when Doctor Strange banishes his opponent to the negative zone, which in this household is, of course, the microwave.
The negative zone is a microwave?
Yep. My microwave in my apartment is labeled negative zone, so yeah.
Okay, can we go?
Go for it.
He is going to reinvent himself. He knows a good thing when he sees it, and he has been looking for this opportunity. So he is going to be Golf Daddy Voldemort.
You are speaking Liz's language.
And so he is going to wear +4s, like the traditional golfing outfit. Now, not the gross, like, plaid ones that don't go with anything. He is going to wear nice ones that are one color. And then he's going to wear salmon shirts because his super pale skin goes with everything. And he is going to learn how to like do some eyebrows because Barbie's going to help in there because Barbie loves a charity case. And his weapon of choice is going to be a full martini glass in the face. And he is just going to throw it right in your stupid little eyes. And
what is this country club Voldemort? Who is this marketed for?
This is Minister of Magic Voldemort. He's gotten like soft in his
Does
power.
he have like
I know,
does he have like a club bag full of wands?
Yeah, absolutely.
He's got that and
Full of elder wands, bitch.
He's got that and he's got like actual golf clubs because he has to unwind sometimes. And he has a little bit of middle-aged spread, but still mostly a six-pack. And he wears
Snakes
like,
don't have six
well,
packs.
no, I don't. Shut up, Kit. They do in my world. And
They do
he
in
wears
Kit's
like
world too. She just wants
super nice leather, not like leather golfing shoes, but like those really nice Birkenstocks. Like not the shitty like hippie dad kind, the really nice kind. And
What
his
the
battle
fuck?
will take place next to the pool because that's where he likes to hang out whenever he's not on the golf course. And also, it is where people bring him drinks whenever he's just chilling out, and where he and Barbie like to do grilling whenever they invite other people over.
Wow.
So I have to add to this. The really cool thing and the most marketable thing about Golf Daddy Voldemort is that if you do something to the action figure, like say put it in the microwave or like break a limb or off it or whatever, then a new one just randomly kind of shows up in the original packaging. And if you ever actually want to break the thing like for good, you have to shell out a little extra money for the Horcrux like accessories and break those first. And nobody's doing that because why would you pay extra money just so you can break the action figure that you bought? Nobody's gonna do that.
It's the perfect toy. It's childproof.
Yeah, exactly. I agree that the battle primarily takes place around the pool where he likes to hang out. I think the finishing move probably comes when he knocks the Doctor Strange action figure into the reptile tank, where it is then devoured by whatever hungry reptile, be it snake or lizard or even toad, happens to be living there in that particular household. Because it's a middle class household. These people are like.
They have a terrarium.
Yeah, that's right.
And then he and Barbie make out while they listen to him scream and die.
Oh, there it is.
Jesus,
Okay.
dude.
Yeah, Voldemort, unlike Doctor Strange, has proof of his virility. He has spawned a child.
Oh,
so.
I know. It's disgusting.
Who is his golf caddy?
Oh, his golf caddy?
Liz has the courage to
Bellatrix
ask the
Lestrange.
right questions.
I don't
No,
know. I'm probably
It's
like
Lucius Malfoy.
Yeah, Lucius Malfoy. I mean, which is
What
fine.
about
'cause
Peter
Voldemort does
Pettigrew?
not
He
feel
seems like a
threatened.
Now, would
natural.
he have the Argyle sweater? He'd be in the Argyle
I mean,
sweater.
Voldemort would make him wear it, but only to make him look better. But Lucius can rock anything, so it doesn't matter.
Okay.
I actually do like the idea of it being Peter Pettigrew because he's only allowed to touch the golf clubs with his silver hand. Like, because his other one is filthy.
Okay.
It is.
I could see that.
Plus, he can, like, if he needs to scout out how other golfers are doing, like, if he needs to scout out the Masters or whatever, Peter can just, like, go and rat for
Wait,
him.
are we making a golfer? Is that what we're doing now?
No, this is an action figure still. It just has lots and lots of accessories and abilities.
Apparently
I forgot
marketed
to
towards
mention,
50-year-old men.
He also has Hitler's gun. But that's an heirloom.
This is
That's
going to be a
totally
recall
an
toy
heirloom.
instantly.
Yeah.
I'd be like, is that an add-on? I don't know.
It actually comes with, it's part of a set with the Harry Potterverse Masters tournament. So, you've got,
All right,
like...
I'm sold. I'll take 3.
You've got, like, Arthur Weasley playing golf, and Cornelius Fudge, and,
Where's Ferenzi? I want a centaur playing golf.
oh god, that'd be so good.
I mean,
Yeah.
he doesn't
He's
like
like,
it.
he's
He
playing golf
opposes,
the whole
like,
time, he's
caddies.
just like, you understand this exercise is pointless when it comes to the stars.
Okay, I'm gonna go now. You can still talk about golf.
Yeah, I know.
We will.
This
We absolutely
Bye.
will. Oh, God.
The moment she said it, I knew.
You guys realize that we accomplished something here today. We made Liz so exhausted
Yeah.
by the
We
lightning
broke her,
round.
finally.
We're like, oh, we're getting into this
I have
shit.
to say, Miles, when I was sitting down with you and Liz to talk about this podcast a little over a year ago now, I didn't think that my up to this point ultimate creative effort would result in the birth of Golf Daddy Voldemort. But here we are.
Well, I wasn't there yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I'm so glad Megan Bob was here for the lightning round, because I was like, I had some ideas, but I hadn't really formulated them, and she just, like, made everything click into place. She locked in on this lightning round. I was really
the Triwizard Cup is definitely missing a golf round from it.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I don't know. The maze is kind of dumb.
Do you think
What is the Harry
that there's
Potter?
like a Horcrux in me, but it's like a golf daddy?
What?
Bob, that may be the strangest question you've ever asked.
Only you can answer that, Bob.
Oh, I wanted to ask everybody, what's your Hogwarts house? That was what I was really wanting to know.
Oh yeah, can everyone guess?
Are you? Well, I don't
I'm
know.
gonna guess Slytherin.
Oh, that's so. Oh, aren't you nice? No, I'm Hufflepuff. Duh.
I'm a Hufflepuff.
Kid, you're all about that reptile life, dude. I'm also
that's true,
Hufflepuff.
but that doesn't make me Slytherin. I'm not ambitious
Oh
at all.
my god! All three of us
No.
are Hufflepuffs?
Yeah, Dan, what about you?
All four of us are Hufflepuff.
Oh shit!
No, I'm kind
Oh
of thinking
my
Pottermore's
God.
broken because I identify a lot with Ravenclaw because I'm pretty obsessed with like learning and stuff.
I identify with them, but I would rather be a Hufflepuff.
Is this kind of off topic? Are there any snake superheroes? Because come on, there's like spider superheroes, but I think snakes always get a bad rap.
Yeah, I mean, there's the whole Serpent Society in Marvel, which is a team of
They're
snake-themed
evil, though.
supervillains.
Yeah, fuck, man.
I mean, Diamondback eventually becomes a superhero, though. So there's
time.
one.
The Savage Dragon,
Yeah,
maybe?
he's a dragon, though. He's not a
Yeah,
snake.
dragon with snakes, man.
Is
got
naked
green
snake
skin.
not a snake?
Oh, no.
No.
Neither naked nor
What
a
is he?
snake. He's a spy.
Okay, I'm back.
Oh.
Well, yeah, we
Oh,
were talking
hi,
about
Liz.
naked snakes, so...
Ooh.
I asked if he was snake themed, and he is not.
So, what I gleaned from this, Voldemort is really, really, really scary. He's like really scary. Doctor Strange is like really, really omnipotent. Like really omnipotent. And they both make mistakes and they both have big egos. I have to go with like motivation, and I gotta give it to Voldemort.
Oh!
Oh my god!
Okay, let me explain. He's done like stupid things, but
Frickin'
Doctor
news.
Strange has done stupid things, and Voldemort just is like a single like evil fucked up mind, and I just feel like he'll have the motivation to try to stop Strange at every turn. And I think Doctor Strange might be in over his head because this is like super evil shit. That's where I'm at.
Good game, you guys. Now you absolutely earned your victory.
Megan Bob, we did it!
Whoa.
Megan Bob has won her first match on this podcast.
I will say, Bob, I'm a lot
But-
less upset than I would be because I know that it made you win.
Yes.
So that's awesome.
Yes.
That's all I needed to know.
I didn't know it would feel like this.
Now's the time for thanks. Thank you to Cosplay Fiend who tweeted about us, as well as Jeffrey Ketchum. Thank you to Tyler Fallman, my fellow reptile and bug lover, Florian, and Gameable for retweeting the Scare Games. Also, there's another person who retweeted the Scare Games, and they have such a weird Twitter handle. I'm just going to read it out. MMVCCXXVIII. Over to Facebook, thank you to Cody Monty for sharing the Scare Games. And we also have email.
So Grayson Leal wrote into us. He was talking about the Scare Games match, saying that we did a fairly good job despite the chaos.
That's basically like our MO,
Oh yeah,
right?
absolutely. Good job
I think that could
despite
be
the
the
chaos.
subtitle of our podcast. A fairly good job despite the chaos.
Absolutely. He was very enthusiastic about this match in particular, Voldemort versus Doctor Strange. He wants to see Professor Hinkle versus Harry Houdini at some point. He said that, Miles, you have made me happier than the time I got a quad headshot with the Machina in TF2, and that is saying something. So, good job. You have
dude.
spoken to Miles
Okay.
in the language he is least comfortable with.
Actually,
Team
in this
Fortress,
case, I
right?
understand him. Yeah, I play the fuck out of Team Fortress 2.
you go.
Wow, the one
And
game.
Grayson, don't go overboard, buddy. Like, not much is more exciting than getting that shot with the Machina. I'm just saying.
He also sent us a picture of his Halloween costume in which he went as Gandalf, so, you know.
That was pretty sweet.
But he also asked us, do you guys still dress up? And if so, do you still get candy? So,
Dan and I were adults on Halloween, just stayed home.
You sound so disappointed.
But, I mean, I spent the whole freaking weekend at Kamikaze dressed as America Chavez, so I was pretty exhausted from that. I felt like I got my costume time in.
my costuming in the last few years has been me coming up with an excuse to not wear a costume and somehow justifying that as a costume. My favorite was a couple of years ago when I went as a werewolf, and I told Kit that I was going as a werewolf, and she immediately understood what I was going for because it wasn't a full moon that particular Halloween.
Right.
So, yeah.
I did my makeup like a swamp thing that drowns men in ponds.
Oh, I loved it.
Yeah, I saw your pictures, Bob. That was quite impressive.
I don't dress up anymore, but I did spend time at Kamikaze LA enjoying everyone else's dressing up and wishing I had that kind of creativity to create awesome video game costumes and comic costumes and movie costumes. Cosplaying is cool.
I was never into dressing up as an adult. I was really into it as a kid. And I would typically either do the thing that Dan said he did or just not even bother with that and show up at costume parties outside of costume and be like, well, you can kick me out if you want to.
Your move,
We're
sir.
friends, so... Yeah.
Super edgy.
You went to costume parties to start a fight?
That is maybe the most Miles thing I can think of.
I was gonna say,
Right?
show up with all these like gentle furries and stuff. No.
The last year or so, Sharon is really into cosplay. So we went to Comic-Con in Phoenix and we dressed up. And it was like super fun. So we didn't go like trick-or-treating this Halloween, but we did go to a bar and we went in costume. We ended up wearing the costumes that we wore for Comic-Con.
Oh, nice, yeah.
Which was the Sandman characters. So she was Death and I was Destiny. Which is a brother and sister in the comics, so it's a little bit weird. But
Not as weird as the Cersei and Jamie
Oh man,
outfits
if you guys dressed as the Lannisters, that'd be the worst.
You should totally do that.
That's next year, yeah.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Smash Fiction. Special thanks to fan Agent KO for suggesting this matchup. Next week, Scorpion and Melina versus Ryu and Chun-Li.
Smash Fiction is produced by Miles Schneiderman, with logo designed by Colin Mulcairn.
Special thanks to Kevin MacLeod for our theme song, which is called Hitman. You can find his work at www.incompetech.com.
You can follow the Smash Fiction podcast on Twitter at SmashFicPodcast and search for us on Facebook and Tumblr.
Subscribe on iTunes, and if you leave us a good review, we shall become more powerful than you can possibly imagine.
If you have any suggestions, feedback, or other contributions, send them to us at smashfictionpodcast@gmail.com and help us continue the fight.
Representing Doctor Strange are Dan Mulcairn.
Wait. Aren't you gonna say that you're the judge?
Oh, I'm the judge. Representing Doctor Strange. I forgot about that part.
What did you expect, Miles?
Where's your rhetorical question about who's going to win, segueing gracefully into an introduction of yourself and your position as the judge? Have
How
you
long
no
have you been doing
respect
this?
for your position?
How long have we been doing this?
Okay,
What episode are we
I
on?
figure out whatever way he finds out how to. I am the Sorting Hat, so I know, but I want people to do stuff anyways, and so I've sorted them into houses. So representing Doctor Strange.
You
right
still haven't
now.
introduced yourself.
Oh, I'm Liz Logan. I'm the judge.
Nailed it.
Oh my god.
Okay, sorry. Hold on.
Okay, you know what? Let's just try this again tomorrow night.
Okay. Actually, execute whatever way he finds out to. I don't want to say I don't know how, because maybe I do, because I'm the Sorting Hat and the
Okay.
judge.
Say-
I'm the judge Sorting Hat judge. I'm the Sorting Hat judge? I'm the judge Sorting Hat judge, also known as Liz Logan.
Also the space judge. Wear a lot of hats. And you are
And
a
the
hat.
ice
Yes,
judge.
also Space Judge, Ice Judge, and Doom Judge, depending on what day of the week it is. Doom. Can you even edit that, or should I just try it again?
Nah, you know what? Fuck it. I don't even care anymore.
Okay, hold on. Okay, whatever
We're
it
gonna
is.
hear the sound of Miles trying to put his head through his desk,
Yeah.
like next Sunday.
No. Here, let me give you this slick soundbite.
All right, dude. That was a slick soundbite right there.
I'm trying to think of something witty.